for those who don't know, basically early on in the pandemic, a bunch of friends were doing this and that online, and I just turned on my camera and started doing a workshop and asking questions for an hour every Tuesday. And it was the coolest thing ever because like musicians would come and writers would come and pickers would come and all these people started showing up and people had the greatest questions. And it was so much fun for me every week while everybody was locked down. And shortly after I started it, Sheila Steele from Austin Music Television contacted me and she said, "Hey, would you mind putting that on our cable access channel?" And I said, "Why not?" So I got this fancy app, and it means that I can go, this is what it means, I can go to all of the platforms like this, all the platforms. And so I can go to Twitch, and I can go to YouTube and Facebook. And I'm also here on AustinCityJams.com. Thank you very much, Kirby Walker, for all the people who don't have socials and don't do that sort of thing. That's another place where you get to watch. And on the very first day, I saw this little button down at the bottom with a little person and a little plus sign. And I went, wait a second, I can invite guests. That's going to be way more interesting than just me blabbing. Because I'm going to blab plenty. Get used to it. And it's just how it goes. I think my first show might have been Michael O'Connor, and then the second one was like Jamie Harris and Scrappy Judd, and then all of a sudden it's Bill Kirchen, and it's Ruthie Foster, and it's Ray Wiley, and it's bass players, and it's drummers. And last week, was it last week? I had Peggy from Peggy's Porch Party, who is a great house concert promoter. Just the coolest, and I really, really loved having someone on that wasn't a musician. It was really great. And your questions are the ones that start and drive all of what's going on in the show, and that's kind of what makes it really interesting to me. We share tips. I share the tips with my guest, and basically it goes like this. You know, all we're looking for is like, I would love to be able to give Susan like a nice tank of gas for her big RV thing. Or she can get a nice takeout meal or something like that. That's all we ask. It's just a little bit to keep the thing running on this. And besides that, what else? Oh, good news. I'm going to be back in Texas in August. I will legally be coming across the border. I don't have my green card yet, but they've told me that it's okay for me to go and come back to do some work. And so I've got gigs booked at the Saxon Pub and San Marcos Summer in the Park and Green Hall and the Post in Fort Worth, Mucky Duck in Houston, Border in Galveston. Is that it? Yeah, the 20th at the Saxon Pub will be a big band gig as well. I can't think of any of the other ones right now. I hope that's enough playing in the short amount of time that I will be there. Please check that out. And thanks for everybody who showed up at my show last night from here to there. That's where I play my songs every week. I'm not stopping even though people are going out because I got people all over the place who tune in every week and really dig it. So I'm going to keep doing that, and I'm going to keep doing this on the off days. Without further ado, I'm going to welcome my good friend, one of my oldest friends from Texas. Not that she's old, but I've known her the longest. One of my oldest friends from Texas. Susan Gibson, everybody.
Hey, how you doing?
What's happening?
Hi, Jeff. How are you?
I'm good. I'm not gonna, I was gonna have this thing again, which I love that Jana made. But remember, do the eye thing that we were doing, and I like what you did. Yeah, that's what we were gonna do. She wants to have an eye patch. Yeah. Arr.
Or if I start cussing a lot.
Yeah, I think that what we have to do is if I can get Jana to figure out how I can put it on the other side above me, then it won't be like above my guest.
Oh, I think
if it was above me, I would get used to it. I would be like, oh, I know it's there and stuff like that. But it is really cool. I like it.
I've got this cowlick right here.
So it's perfect.
It
could
perfect.
Be like a little flower.
There we go, like a little flower on my hair.
Yes, it's lovely. Susan, I'm so glad to see you, and I'm so glad you could do this.
I'm so glad for the invitation. Thank you so much. It's good to see you. And I've seen you a couple times since you've seen me because I like to watch your stuff too with your 20 question guests. It's pretty cool.
It's pretty fun.
It's an honor to be here.
Especially, well, I am honored to have you. And it's really turned into a love thing for me. I get so much. And it was also a really great way for me to stay connected as I'm in a little cubicle on Vancouver Island, which is not a bad place to be stuck.
I was going to say, that sounds pretty delightful.
Not too bad.
Mm-hmm.
But can't wait to see everybody. And I'm going to just dive in on the questions. And there's a couple of questions that came in late. And
Okay.
so I might start with one of those because I didn't have a chance to write them down. Okay, it looks like the only question that I missed that I haven't written down yet, we're going to start with it because I like it. Joseph. Level, am I saying that right? Level, Joseph Level. Susan, when you write a song from an idea, title, how do you develop the verses and move the story along? Well, we're jumping in deep right there.
That's a
Wow.
good
It's
one.
it's
How do
workshop
we
time.
do that?
It's
Yeah.
workshop time. Okay, when
Um,
you write a
you
song
know,
from a title, how do you develop the verses and move the story along?
well, I feel like when I'm writing, and I hope this doesn't isn't skirting the question, but I'm always kind of a lot of times I will come up with where I want to land first. And so
Yeah.
I feel like I'm always kind of thinking, well, how am I going to get there? And I have a lot of titles like in my notes app when I'm hunting and gathering for ideas. Um, but really, those are maybe more like markers to remember an idea, um, so that I'm just quickly kind of trying to get down an idea.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like if it's a really strong title for me, then the story is almost implied a little bit, or I just am trying to make the decision of, all right, what angle am I going to take with this? Because I really like titles that you think they mean something and they turn out like evolving as the song goes by, and so all of a sudden that title means something a little bit um,
That's
deeper.
kind of St. Vincent's thing about St. Vincent talks about the epiphany. She
Yeah,
loves songs. She's like, every song has to have, and I don't know about every song has to have, but every song has to
yeah,
have an epiphany. Like
yeah,
somewhere where, oh, that's what chin up means.
yeah, totally,
Right? Which is
totally,
your beautiful song, which is probably a great example because Chin Up is like a great title. And then
yeah,
you have that wonderful story behind it,
yeah. And
from what was it, the presidential
fitness test award.
fitness test,
Yeah,
and then this great song comes out of it. I feel like a lot of times when you come from a title, you're almost there. Like I know if I have a chorus,
yeah,
oh man, I feel like I am really because like you said, it's like you're already like trying to get there.
yeah,
Whereas if you have like these verses that are kind of like vague or just telling a little story, or you have a first line, I find that much, much, much more difficult. Sometimes worth it, but harder.
yeah, for sure. Like that is, I think the core. I always look at songs, and anybody that's been in a workshop hears me say this is if I'm really simplifying it and maybe oversimplifying it, is that the verse is the story and the chorus is the moral of the story,
Mm-hmm.
and a bridge can function a lot of different ways. Um, but like if I already have that, what point am I really trying to get across? And sometimes that's the landing line of a chorus or a title. Um, then it's about letting my imagination kind of think of how did I get there. And what I like to do is think in my practical experience life, what what made me even think of that. Like I I'm not very imaginative. Like things that resonate with me are more often things that I have
Really
that
happened.
personality, or it really happened, or I can
Yeah.
really, really relate to that idea. So I'm not having to really make up too much of anything. I'm trying to, expose myself at, you
Eh.
know, but in hopefully a good way that allows you, the listener, to feel comfortable exposing your heart, which is what actually you're listening with, not just your ears. So I hope that was a good answer. I don't know.
No, I think that helps a lot, especially the idea that when you have the title and somewhere to go to, and then just putting your experience into it. There are lots of writers, and like sometimes we try and challenge ourselves. I'm going to do something outside the box, and then you go
Hmm.
back and you go, Nah, I'm going to do what I know.
Yeah, yeah,
And then, but there's a lot of writers that love to write, really, really tall tales about characters that aren't them. And
yeah,
then there's a lot of writers that really it's a matter of exposing something like yourself, like you said, where you're trying to shine a light on something that somebody might relate to or might get something out of or might see themselves as the character in the story, which is really, really, really rewarding. You
It
know.
is. Well, I always think I look back to the origin story of me writing songs, and it was always to uncover something that I didn't feel like I could actually say out loud to somebody. You know what I mean?
Oh, I love that.
It was,
I love that. Yeah.
yeah. And so I think there's a thread of that in all my stuff is I'm constantly trying to figure things out, and songwriting for some reason is I think because of the craft of it, you have this you move in. I think this is why it's an effective kind of therapeutic tool is you move in really close and you get really vulnerable. And then once you've got that out on the page and you've actually expressed it, then it's a matter of like, yeah, but I want it to fit in this. I
You
need
got
it
to
to
make it
fit
fit
in
the
this
laws of
image.
music now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. And then that gives you a little bit of objectivity where you're not bleeding quite so profusely, and you get an opportunity to, you know, think. And that removal from my own problem that I was so anxiety ridden or
Yeah.
excited, or I mean, it doesn't have to
Yeah.
be terrible stuff, but I'm automatically getting a different perspective because all of a sudden it's not bouncing around in my head. It's 18 inches in front of my eyes, and I've got a little bit more perspective on it. So, because that was the way I started writing, I feel like it's really hard for me to get too far away from my own experience as far as um uh you know, I also consider my fantasy life as part of my experience. So there's a song, it was starting to come on in the lead up music of The Big Game, and
Yeah.
it's kind of this, like song, which does not feel sincere to me, but there's something in that. I think the humor in that song is very real to me. And so even though, I don't think I've ever done, hey buddy, wanna
Hey.
come,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like that doesn't feel sincere, but
But you
that
can do
poking
it in a
fun at
song.
myself. Yeah, and that poking fun at myself is very real,
Yeah.
that kind of exposure that way.
One of
I
the
wrote a
things you
song
mentioned.
for a
Oh, go ahead.
oh, I'm sorry.
No, no, no. It's part of the deal with this whole Zoom thing. I end up interrupting. You go.
Well, I was just thinking about this with writing a song for Beth Wood's Sisters Speaks. She Speaks
Nice.
project that was women songwriters writing songs for women that have influenced them. And I have some friends that are single moms, which I am not.
Hmm.
And so I was trying to write a
I was
song
raised
to
by a single
honor
parent
them.
mom.
Well, she's a brilliant saint. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
Like, I'm getting glimpses of what that's like through these women that I know. And, they're just super courageous and brave and able to pay attention to 16 things at once, and I was trying to write this song, and, I like moments of it, but there's so much of that, in that song that I think I need to work on that because um, I tried seeing myself in the song by putting it into first person, and I don't know that that was the best decision to make. It's just weird. It's like I was trying to fit into this role that I was trying to honor, and there was a lack of experience there that I feel like I can hear, even though I like the song.
But
But
you cared enough to experiment with the different points of view, and you're seasoned enough to know that you don't have to do it one way if you want to get this out, and you're
yeah,
also really, really, really careful to uh it's not easy to speak someone else's words.
yeah, that
And
was the danger. Yeah,
it's such a dangerous thing. I want to go back to one thing real quick because I want to say something that's sort of sexist in a good way, and that is it may be good and it may be bad, but I notice that with my men writers, vulnerable is a lot harder. And
hmm,
I want to encourage my, brothers out there. I had a friend named Scott Strickland, and he sent me something, and he said, I don't know if I should. I don't know if I should. What do you think about this song? I'm kind of curious what you think about it. And I'm always touched when somebody wants my opinion because what the hell do I
hmm.
know? And I said,
A
I think
lot.
it's great. Don't change a thing. I think he might have been asking to get together for a co-write, and I was like, you're done. Don't.
Yeah.
And I said, the thing about it is it's incredibly vulnerable. And I find that women are a little bit more brave, you
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah.
like I said, it's a little bit of a blanket statement, but I don't know what it is about the experience that makes men want to hide it and makes them want to puff up and peacock. And women are like, no, I'm going to get this shit out, you know? And you take it to another level, like one of my favorite writers, Eliza Gilkison, one of the bravest writers I know,
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know?
For sure.
And I find that vulnerability that you're talking about in your personal stuff, it definitely shines through. And I see when a guy does it, it's like, well, we've been waiting for that for you, you know,
Yeah. Yeah,
you
totally.
know, and it
Totally.
works. And
Well,
it's
and I equate that to the dad single parent. Like you
sure,
see a dad raising a kid on his own and you're like, "Oh my God."
yeah,
You know what I mean? You see a woman raising a kid on their own and it's like, "Oh, cuz that's what you do." Because
right.
women do
It's
communicate.
expected.
It's expected and we
Yeah,
do, I sometimes worry about a little bit about oversharing cuz that can also be a disguise. You know what I mean?
yeah, like a humble
We can do it
brag
that way.
or yeah,
Yeah, or just this it's self-indulgent where I'm not even thinking about whether you're connecting to it or not. And that is always
hmm
my mission statement of a song is
yeah,
I want to find a way to make this thing that weaves through all the loneliness and isolation that we all feel because we all think we're experiencing our lives singularly and no one knows how we feel. And I feel that same way. How could you
and of
possibly know?
course we're not when we look at it from 10,000 feet. Of course we're
Yeah,
not,
totally, totally not.
and we're
But
trying
if I
to.
can do that one at a time, and just connect one at a time, or on a good night, 15 at a time.
Yes, and a
You know
good
what I
night
mean?
it's 15. Oh no, but I feel the same way. If I'm at a show and I go, okay, that one got it, then I'll be
Yeah,
like, okay, good night.
that
But
was a
if I'm
success.
at a
Yeah,
show, there are nights when a lot of people get it, and it
yeah,
actually happens. You know, part of
yeah.
that's the luck of being where we're from and doing what we do. Okay, so we're 20 question Tuesdays. I want to get to some more because
Okay,
this is
sorry.
great, great. No, this
Yeah.
is great stuff. This is exactly what people are asking about. Some of the other stuff that you mentioned goes to Jane Gibson Hawk's question,
Oh,
which I
that's my
really, really
sister. I'm
like.
sitting in her living room right now.
It's perfect. Okay,
Yeah.
well, this question is just perfect. Ask about her early experiences in her earliest band, The Reflections.
Okay.
Just anything
So,
you want to talk about regarding that.
okay. Well, I believe it was somewhere between the middle of first grade and the middle of fifth grade when we lived in Omaha, Nebraska. We had a basement in our house and we had a wall of mirrors. And so my sister, Jane Gibson Houck, and I um, we would lip
That's
sync
how.
and air band um,
Yeah.
to Asia and Casey and the Sunshine Band, and we had a record player down there, and we would. There were days that we had band rehearsal and gigs down there where because it was us and our reflections, then we would have two
The
guitar players, two
Reflections.
keyboard players, two lead singers, two drummers, air drummers, right? And
Yeah.
then sometimes we had dance practice down there, and we would make up dance moves. And I can't remember if that was to coordinate with our band. I don't know how we thought we were going to pull that off, but we came up with some pretty iconic dance moves down there. And so yeah, it was practice performance, man. You
Yeah.
know, before you could watch videos of yourself and see how you did, man. I was just right there,
You were
just
checking out The
yeah,
Reflections.
hell yeah, man.
Now I share with you that my sister is 3 years older, and she was one of those sisters that like came back from kindergarten and taught me everything she learned because she
Yeah,
wanted me to be ahead, and
yeah,
like
yeah,
and also because she wanted to show me what the heck to do,
right.
and but we also did a lot of that stuff. We did a lot of that
Hmm.
stuff, and it was really just absolutely, I don't know, just fondest memories of growing up,
Oh,
spending
for sure.
time listening. And it's going to lead to my final question of the day. I only ask one question of my guests, and that's going to
Okay.
lead perfectly into it. So we'll come back to that. Our good friend Kate Howard asks, I love this question.
Kate.
It's probably okay. So Kate Howard, the Austin Word Woman, who has a new album out that everybody should check out as well, go ahead, put it in there in the comments if you want. Kate, we don't mind shameless. I encourage shameless promotion. We all need it. Kate Howard says, which representation of one of your songs surprised you the most? Could be
Um,
something you co-wrote with somebody and then they did it differently. It could be,
oh
somebody
yeah.
cut something and you went, wow, they did that with it.
Okay. Um, there's Tina Mitchell Wilkins, Walt Wilkins' wife,
Yeah.
does a version of Evergreen, and it's piano
Mm.
based. Ron Flint is playing the piano, and Tina is kind of jazzy and kind
Yeah.
of she's just got this very different sensibility about. I mean, I'm so folky, you know, write it like how you would say it to somebody, and she does this version of Evergreen that there's a little bit of a rearrangement in there that's very cool. That's more dramatic, as far as putting that in. I think that would be it. Tina
Okay,
Mitchell
here's
Wilkins.
here's what I'm going to do because I love this. Tina Mitchell Wilkins of
Wilkins.
Walt Wilkins, yes,
Uh-huh.
our friend, and her version of Evergreen.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just put that in there so that everybody on YouTube and stuff can find it. And the question was, which representation of one of your songs surprised you the most? Our friend Robert Daniel Evans, first time here. I don't know what I'm doing. Robert, long story short, this is 20 Question Tuesdays. I get on early. I take questions from the audience. I have a guest, and your guys' questions are the ones that push the show forward, and it's a blast. That's
Hey, and
basically
I
it.
know I know Bob Evans. Hi,
Do
Bob Evans.
you?
You're doing just fine. You're doing just
Okay,
fine. You're
he's
doing
already
exactly
knows what
what
he's
you're supposed
doing.
to do.
So was your reason that it was such a surprise because it was jazzy? It was because she had kind of taken it in a different musical direction you weren't expecting?
Yeah, it was. And honestly, I was just thrilled and shocked that like she liked that song enough to do it.
Isn't that the
Um
craziest thing when somebody cut it doesn't matter how many times when somebody cuts one of your songs or even when somebody plays one of your songs or even when somebody learns one of your songs, I don't get over it. I
yeah,
go, "Whoa."
totally. Especially when it's a writer. When it's
Oh, I
someone that
know.
writes
I know
songs
somebody
and
that you
says,
already look up to and
yeah, totally. Yeah, and
yeah.
you're like, wow, wow,
Yeah. I mean,
that's
because no matter what happens, we still have a lot of "don't I suck"
oh
in the
God,
back of our
yeah,
head.
imposter
It doesn't
syndrome.
matter.
Yeah, totally,
It doesn't
totally.
matter. It's kind of sad that we don't get over that, but we're people. I know
Yeah,
it's really surprising that an artist would be sensitive, you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
but
Well, you know what? I mean, you've seen that Venn diagram, right? Where
yeah.
it's like the one circle is crippling self doubt, and
Uh-huh.
the other circle is like unmitigated or absolute narcissism. And where those two things overlap, that's where art is made. I think about that all
That's
the
our
time
songwriter.
because
That's it.
it's yeah, that's kind of where we live.
People don't like it when I call us singer-songwhiners, but I have
Uh-huh.
fun calling. I like that because I'm just
For
like, hey,
sure.
you know what? I try very, very hard not to just get up there and whine about my problems, but
Yeah, yeah.
I
But
like to whine about your
that's where
problems too.
the funny story introduction really buys me a
Oh,
lot
I
of a
know.
lot of time there because I can lay some downy down stuff on you, but if the story that frames the song lets you laugh a little bit, then I can do whatever I want to in the song.
That's
I could really go dark.
That's exactly what our friend Ray Wiley says. Now, everybody knows that I've known Ray, and I name drop him ridiculously, and he brought me to Texas, and I met you guys through Michael, you guys being the Groovies, and
Hmm.
just remember like hanging out in the river before I moved to Texas. I'm hanging out with you guys, and this is the most amazing experiences, right? But someone, I can't remember who, told me that Ray was the best at. People were like, "Well, why do you tell jokes so much?" And he's like, "Well, man, like after somebody laughs, they're kind of open."
Yeah,
So when somebody's like laughing about something, he's like, then I can lay the dark on them,
yeah, totally.
And
Yeah,
I think that for all the years that I kind of became, oh, you're going to talk at shows and you're going to tell stories about your songs when you're doing a solo gig or whatever, I didn't realize that was why we were doing it. I just was
yeah,
happy to get a laugh and then start a
yeah,
song.
yeah,
But
totally.
it just
It
opens
functions.
people.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
He's
I
I
love it.
mean, and he's the best at that. And
He's
he's the
got the
best
timing.
at yeah, for sure. like you think every time he tells that story that he's telling it for the first time. And
Yeah,
that
and
is an
it's the
incredible talent.
thousandth time.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. Yep.
It is. I got in trouble with the band one night. We were hanging out, and I was opening for Ray. I think it was in Where's the Red Dragon? Baton Rouge. And
Yeah.
but we were at that big theater. And long story short, we were eating some food before the show, and I said, "Hey man, I told the ketchup bottle story last night." And he goes, "Oh yeah, how'd it go?" And then the band was like, "You tell Ray's stories?" I was like, "Of course I tell Ray's stories." I was like, "Ray got half his stories from the Smothers Brothers."
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? And Ray looks over and Ray looks over at me and he goes, "Only two." You know?
That's great.
And but
So funny.
we love him because he opens us up before he hits
Yeah.
us with something heavy. Um,
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And I love that everybody in the comments right now is like putting up links to Evergreen
Oh,
and
cool.
your version and Tina's version and stuff like that. You guys
Oh,
in the chat there, you are why this show is super super fun.
absolutely.
Love ya. Uh, Clue Norwood would love to know who some of your favorite songwriters are. And
Oh
like you could
man.
just like I mean we nobody's gonna say who's your favorite because man it's so tough.
Because it would always be Jeff Clankenhorn on this
Oh
show.
yeah, of course.
And
Well,
I do. I
well,
do. You are up there. And you know what? You are up
stop
there.
it. You're freaking
I,
me out a little
I'll tell you
bit.
why. I'll tell you why. It's not just because you're sitting there, but
Wow,
it is
got
when
freaked out.
I first started, when I first started playing this kind of music, um, I didn't listen to this kind of music. When I first started, I mean, I
Me
was
neither.
listening to songwriters, but really what the stuff that I was connecting with when I first started playing was um like new wave music. I was
Yeah,
so moody and it touched something in me, but it touched the outside of me. And then I started listening to songwriters that really got to my insides, um, and you're just in that batch that I first met when I first started paying attention to this stuff, honestly, because I feel like the Groovies had a profound impact on me, not
me
not
too.
just as getting to play with them, but they all had such different musical tastes, and it just opened my you know my exposure up. I'd have to say today the songwriter that I can't wait till they put out their next thing is Drew Kennedy. Um,
Really?
yeah, dude,
Okay.
I love
And that's
that guy.
spelled just like it sounds. Drew Kennedy.
Drew Kennedy,
Okay.
and
Everybody's got that
he,
name right there.
yeah, man, he for
Put all
one
this on a
thing,
stick.
he's one of those guys that I love him, and I'm a little jealous. I'm a lot jealous because of his level of productivity, that he seems to just be so consistent, and everything that he ever releases is something that I think, oh man, that is exquisite. And then he also has this whole other catalog. It's like I don't just love the songs of his that I've heard. I love the ones that I know won't ever even make it out the gate
Yeah.
because he's just writing all the time. And
Yeah.
I love that. And I aspire to that, although I know that's a practice and a discipline, and a lot of times I don't have that discipline. So I really try to watch him. Um uh I love I love Michael O'Connor's songs,
Yeah,
and I
me too.
think
Me too.
that it they are so him. And then there's something that's so different about his personality of
Versus,
me
yeah.
versus the stuff that he writes about that I just think is incredible and such a good lesson for me. You know,
I love
I
his
always
imagery.
love, yeah, his
I'm
imagery. And
attracted to writers whose imagery is like infinitely better than mine. You know,
me too.
thumbtacks on the hammer down playing in a
Yeah,
moonshine band is there's tacks on the hammers on the piano, and it's like you
yeah.
get these pictures in your mind, and it's like I've never been there, but I can see that and I can feel that, and I'm just so drawn to the writers that are that way. Oh, you froze. Are you still there? Okay, everybody, this is where it happens. Oh, now she's moving. And the other thing I wanted to
Okay.
say,
just to make sure.
um, The other thing I wanted to say was, isn't it great to be healthily jealous of a writer?
Yeah, for
You know,
sure.
I was mentioning something about oh God, the piano player. Why am I forgetting his name? I'm such a huge fan. John, from Oklahoma. Anyway,
Oh, oh,
John
Fulbright.
Fulbright. Okay,
Yeah,
so John Fulbright comes on the scene, and I notice him like playing accordion with Betty Sue one night at the Sax, and
yeah,
I don't know who this kid is. He's 20 years younger than me,
yeah,
and his old soul is like,
yeah, yeah,
you know, and I'm just like, well, shit, the bar just got higher.
yeah, totally. Yep.
And I just like, that's, you know, and it's like, there's your writer, there's your thing. And it's just, it
Yeah,
seems effortless, but I know it's not.
yeah, yeah,
And I like a healthy, I'll never do that. I love
yeah, yeah,
a healthy amount, a healthy dose of, I gotta be me, but I can
yeah.
be inspired by that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
You know?
Well, and you know, you know, we're like probably the same age writer wise. So we've spent a lot of time thinking about this stuff, and then when you hear a song where you think, how did they do that? Like I know how to write songs, and I think I sure try to teach other people how to do it. You know
Right,
what I mean?
right,
And
right.
then you'll hear a song that you think, I can't see the puppet strings on that.
Yeah.
I
Like, how
do
did
not
this come?
I have the same awe and you know connection and disbelief as someone that's never known what it's like to write a good song that actually does land. And you know, you after a while you kind of know why it works. I think when I first write a song, I'm not quite sure why it works,
Yeah,
but you
yeah,
get enough feedback from people about what line they liked or they liked this part or something, and you think, okay, that must be what's working in that song.
yeah, yeah.
And then you hear one of those and it takes over your whole senses, all your senses.
You're kind of a
And
kid again.
yeah, yeah, you get this wonder about it that I had before I started writing. So
It's so
that's
much better for us
the
to go
good
back
part.
to that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
I find the same thing during performance. I've explained to people a lot of times that the feeling that I get on stage during a brilliant, like I'm just having the time of my life, not I'm being brilliant, like it
Hmm.
just feels right. The
Yeah.
feeling that I have on stage when I'm connecting with an audience is almost exactly the feeling I get when I'm in the audience and I'm connecting with the person on stage.
Yeah.
And nobody expects that.
Yeah. Totally.
It is so proof positive that the damn thing is communication. It's so proof positive that it ain't about me.
Yeah. Yep. I've
It
never heard it
takes
put
my
that way, but
ego out.
yes. Yeah.
Takes my ego out. You
Yeah.
know, if it doesn't matter if I'm watching some kid at an open mic who I've never heard before and it's
Yeah.
freaking me out,
Yeah.
or I'm at a Stevie Wonder show.
Yeah.
You
Totally.
know,
You know,
that
the
connection.
one of the best shows that I ever went to was a Steve Poltz show. You know
He knows
Steve
how to
Poltz?
connect.
Oh
He will
my
grab you. He'll
God.
grab you whether you like it or not. You are
Yeah.
his the moment
Yeah.
he starts playing.
Yeah, totally. It was like I have before that Steve Poltz show and how to perform, and I
Yeah.
have after that Steve Poltz show. About being present, and even though you did tell that story 1,000 times, you better tell it for real. And even though you did sing that song a million times, you better sing it for real because
Yeah.
it's somebody's first time there.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
I,
You know
you
who
know,
taught me really? Joe Ely taught me that. And
oh
Joe
yeah,
Ely, one time I go to Joe Ely, and here's another name drop, and I'm playing, I'm backing him up, and we show up, and it's a booking coup. Nobody's there. And I'm
yeah,
like, this is freaking Joe Ely. It's Tulsa. Somebody messed up. We've
yeah,
sold out Tulsa before.
yeah,
Okay, so we show up and there's like 10 people. Joe
yeah.
goes out and plays like it's freaking Carnegie Hall.
That's it.
And then
Yeah,
we get off and he says something funny to me and we go back to the hotel. But I
yeah,
mean, and I was like, learned everything that night. You
yeah.
know, hey, I
Totally.
need to say we're about halfway through.
Oh,
So I know, isn't that amazing? We're about halfway through and we're on Austin Music TV. Thank you, as always, Austin Music Television, for putting this on and for putting on videos of all these great music, you know, musicians in Austin and beyond. Thank you to AustinCityJams.com and everybody who's online. This is 20 Question Tuesdays. And, you know, I'll just put it up one more time. Thank you for the tips. We always appreciate that. And while I'm saying that, a songwriter buddy of mine who's on right now, I love when songwriters, oh, hi, Spring. Hi, Spring. Songwriter friend of mine, Christopher Robinson, Robeson.
Oh,
I always say it wrong, Chris. I love this question. This is a really good question because I know that Susan and I have both probably been through this, but I'm really interested in her answer. Are there songs of yours that now only play begrudgingly? And do people request songs that you've personally moved on from? I'm going to answer first real quick, and I'm just going
yeah.
to say, yeah, well, duh. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, like basically, it's like you move on. But here's what I've tried to learn in my having a few years. Somebody loves one of my songs. Oh my God, I have to try really, really hard to play it. I
Uh-huh.
mean, are you kidding? You
Yeah.
know, I mean, somebody will request a song that I wrote 20 years ago, and I'm like, I can look at it as like, oh, I was a really shitty writer back then, or
Hmm.
I can look at it like, I can't believe that song has made it this long, and you want to hear it, and you are, a fan, and like,
Yeah.
it's I kind of liken it to if somebody comes up and they say, hey, play Melissa or play some Allman Brothers, and then I say, I had a couple managers ago. A manager was like, "Here's what you do in that situation. You say, "Oh man, I'm really glad that you think that I can play that. If you like that, I'm gonna play this
Yeah. Yeah. That's great.
instead of I want to play my own songs,
Yeah.
man."
Yeah.
And I was like, "That's such a great attitude and
Yeah.
doesn't alienate your person." There
Yeah.
are songs of mine that are really hard to play
Yeah.
because I look back now and I go, I was kind of a presumptuous little shit when I wrote that song,
Yeah.
or
Yeah. For
this
sure.
person that I thought was a certain way isn't, and
Yeah.
so the
Yeah.
story is
Totally.
messed up in my head.
Yeah. For sure.
Um, but I try. So for me, Christopher, I really try to play them anyway, and but there are certain songs I do not play certain songs because they're just I got a little too heavy with it, and it's that. But what's your take on that? So, Susan, are there any of your songs that you play begrudgingly, and are there people request songs that you've personally moved on from?
I do. And you know what? I absolutely resonate with what you just said about like what a compliment that is that something stuck. And I never ever want to take that for granted. I have a song called Jaded
Yeah.
that is, I don't know, I to me it is that thing. It was like I thought I knew something back then. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so
Yes. Of course, we thought we knew.
yeah, I thought I knew everything, not just something.
Yep. Yep.
Um, but I have that one. I have some. Here's a weak spot of mine is that there are some great songs that the Groovies did that people
Yeah. They
ask
want to
for, and
hear.
because I didn't write them, and I usually was singing a backing vocal part on them, so I was maybe doing something on the banjo or
Yeah.
where I wasn't completely driving the song at all. That I really need to learn those so that when people ask for them, that I can do a version of it. I know it won't be the same, but
Well, that's even
um,
better. I was going to
yeah,
make the suggestion do your
yeah,
version.
yeah,
Do it
yeah,
solo, do it as
yeah,
an homage, do whatever.
yeah, for
And you
sure.
don't have to. I mean, you could
Yeah,
just be like, no, Scott sang that.
yeah,
You
yeah. But it's a
know,
cool song.
yeah.
It would, from a selfish point of view, it would be a
Why
cool
not?
thing of my
Yeah.
set because it would give some relief to some of this other shit I'm talking about. Stuff I'm talking about.
No, you could
You
say
know
it
what I
on here.
mean?
It's cable. We try.
Okay, okay. So, but yeah, I mean, I think that there are. It's just such. I get so tickled especially when I think, oh, you were listening way back then. Wow, okay.
Exactly.
Because some of the songs just get phased out because I never play them, and so I forget. I don't know. I can get the first verse and the third verse, but I cannot ever seem to remember the second verse of whatever. And
Yeah.
so that is yeah, Christopher, how ironic that the song is called Jaded. See how
That's
that
we're
perfect
talking
circle
about
works?
experience.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, I was jaded at 19 when I wrote that
Yeah,
song. Yeah,
right.
of
And
course
now
I
we
was.
look and we're like, you don't know
I was like this.
Jaded.
I
Come
was just kidding.
on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah. Hey, Mike Glocken. Hey, man, long time no see. There's a great question that kind of ties in. Have
Oh
you
yeah.
ever refreshed the lyrics or music slightly to older fan faves? Honestly, I heard when I was listening to a thing about Randy Newman that he changes the lyrics to his songs all the time. And he
Oh,
doesn't care how popular they were, and he doesn't care how if what movie it was in. He does it all the time. And when I heard that a couple years ago, I went, screw it.
Yeah.
If I don't like the words in this one section, I'm gonna
Yeah.
sing it better now. And like,
Yeah.
I've never had anybody come up to me and go, "You changed that," but
Yeah.
it feels
Totally.
better to me.
Yeah,
So
for
I,
sure.
and I'll also revamp the music, whether it's like better for a live performance or better for a band, or I'm getting old and I can't sing it that high anymore.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
You
Same,
know?
same. I have, if I could come up with a better line, you better, than I had 6 years ago when I made that record, you better believe I'm going to, find a
Yeah.
better line. I have a couple of songs like that. And the same too, as far as, I have some songs that work as like a real kind of shanty lullaby kind of thing.
Mhm.
And then I have faster versions of them that I can play that are a little bit more rhythmic or something like that, where, it just changes it up. And what I love about it is that sometimes there are people in the audience where you get that, oh God, this is from, oh, that's that song. Okay. Which is kind of cool. I like that. I like
Yep.
that.
And there's nothing wrong with adding a verse
Yeah,
or changing
totally.
a verse or
Yeah.
whatever. I remember
Well,
times
songs are
being
living things. I think songs are living things. And so they're going to evolve. They change depending on who's singing it. And I don't want to cut that off. So I'm saying I interrupted you. I'm sorry, Jeff.
no, don't ever, because like I said, this format, as awesome as it is, this is what happens. I blame the format. I really, really want to ask the. Oh, first of all, I really love what Zoe said. Zoe's a young songwriter that I know, who's really, really, really fantastic. Zoe says, "I love that idea. Honestly, creative freedom with your own music instead of having the mindset that you can't change anything later on.
Oh yeah.
Yes, you can change it,
Yeah.
because who you have to answer to but yourself, and
Yeah.
we're the ones that have to play these, and we're the ones putting ourselves out there. So make it so you love it,
Yeah.
and you may feel differently in a couple of years,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, a lot of that. I really love this question from. Oh, so Angie says, "Where does the music come from? I can write, but every time I try to add music to it, it ends up being a song already." And I know that that's definitely a common thing. And I definitely have my own kind of ideas on this. But let's say you're writing something, and you're writing, and the music ends up being a song that you already know. I mean, I've had
Mhm.
that happen with John Fulbright. I called him one time. I was like, "Man, I was writing this song. I thought it was great," and then I was like, "Nope, it's When You're Here,"
Yeah.
which is one of his songs, and he's
Which is a
laughing.
great song.
Sick
Yeah.
great song.
Yeah.
And what do you do? So I have some ideas, but what are your ideas like if you're writing something and it comes out sounding a little bit too much like something that you've either written, or something that sounds like somebody else, or
I think that the first thing I do is I try to start if it's melody that we're talking about, I try to start my melody in a different place.
mm,
Um, so that
different
the
place,
whole
like a
thing
different
will,
pitch?
like a different pitch. Yeah.
Yeah,
I will just start somewhere else.
that's usually a
And
good way to do it.
yeah, I mean, it will lead me enough, that if you if I move zero point 0.5 degrees from the beginning, by the time I get here, it's going to be different.
That's what I'm
And so,
saying.
yeah,
Yes.
it'll just, I'll have to change other things to adjust it. I might change line length. You know what I
Yes.
mean? I might change some phrasing or put a rest in or something. Just what little thing can I wiggle over here that's going to kind of have this bigger ripple effect over here where it will sound different. Um, there's a lot. I'm sure I have songs that are real. Hey, Gus, come here.
Come
I'm
here,
sure
Gus.
that
Don't
I
worry,
have.
we're dog people.
Okay, come here, buddy.
Everybody on this damn thing is a dog
Boy,
person, pretty much. So.
I got a table full of bribes here. This is my
Okay. All
recommended.
right.
Oh, we're
Oh
not supposed
yeah.
to do that. That's what I
Oh, that's
recommend.
right. We're not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Apologies.
No, we did it. We did it.
Um, but come, buddy, and lay down. um, but yeah, if I can change one thing, other things will have to adjust to accommodate that. And a lot of times that will do it enough. I mean,
Yeah.
it'll get me in a little bit different place.
Don't you find too that okay, so let's say I'm writing something and I think I have totally ripped off Toots and the Maytals.
Mhm.
As soon as I play it for somebody, they go, "Oh wow, that sounds like Buddy Holly."
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I mean, they have no idea that I got it from somebody else because as soon as I kind of put my own self into it, it changes. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
the first thing I tell people is it's probably not as close as you think. And if
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is, and if it is, there's a really really great writer named Tim Easton. You know Tim Easton? I
Uh-uh.
think he's a Nashville guy. I see him a lot at like Folk Alliance and stuff like that. I love
Okay.
his songs. And he's like, yeah, I pretty much just take Beatle tunes and start them and grab a section and then I just change one chord.
Yeah,
And I was
yeah.
like, well, it sounds really, what's the word? Like a cheap solution, you know?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I've never heard one of his songs and thought, oh, that's Day in the Life.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
never heard that song and said, that's Yellow Submarine. I've never heard his song. It just is like this beautiful way to have a jumping off point,
Yeah.
you know? So I think your idea of changing the melody, change one chord. I love to take songs from a completely different rhythmic idea, and like I love like writing from a beat. Like I'll steal a beat from a song
Uh-huh.
by the Meters, and then I'll just do the dishes,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then I'll just sing the song to that beat, and then all of a sudden
Yeah.
it's a new song, you
Yeah, for
know.
sure. Yep.
And all these
Yeah.
little techniques.
Yeah, for sure. I think my problem when I am having a problem with that is that I'm attaching to an idea too soon. And I feel like
That's
it's
a really
written in
good point.
stone, and it's not. It's just I need to be able to loosen my grip on it and try something differently. But yeah, I think that's also why I tried the banjo, was to
Right.
have a different instrument. I'm still playing the same chords, y'all. I don't know if this is any breaking news to anybody, but I'm still playing the same chords that I would on the guitar, but that the finger picking takes it
The
somewhere else.
rolling and
The
that kind of
voicing of
thing.
the chords sounds it makes it sound different. And so it's not like I'm a great banjo player, but it is a tool that I can use to try to come at it a different, if I'm not getting it head on, I'm going to come at it from the side. And sometimes I have to sneak in the back. And, there's a lot of, there's a lot of value in studying a song format. And I was just in that sisters writing workshop that they did online where the other mentor that was there, and I'm drawing a blank on her name. I could Google it right now, but I'm not going to because I'll lose
It's
my
okay.
train of thought. But, that's what she did. Her writing workshop was showing how she took the blueprints of this song
Yeah.
and it's the chords do this, this is what it does in the chorus,
This is the
and
meter for like a
this is the meter for
line.
the lines. The title is a refrain or whatever that keeps coming back around. And then she played her song first and it was beautiful. And then she showed us the blueprints of this other very famous and maybe genre very different song, but you could see that they were cousins. You could
Yeah.
see the brow is the same. I see
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
And it was just awesome because it was like she was like, don't worry about stealing ideas from people. If
I
you are,
agree.
rip off good people. That's called influence. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep.
And
Yep.
if you get
And
something that's
for
real
us, it goes
directly,
when
yeah,
you hear
totally.
that. You hear that, you go, it's okay. You
Yeah,
know, it's like, yeah, they're
yeah,
not
for
gonna
sure.
know that you ripped off
Yeah.
this, you
You
know?
mean I don't have to invent everything about this
Mm-mm.
thing that I'm doing? There's
Or think that
people.
everything that I do is original, which it's
Yeah,
never gonna be.
yeah,
It's
that's right.
never gonna be.
Yeah.
You know,
And those
you
songs
find a
that you're
balance.
stealing from, they all have, DNA
Songs that they were
that
stolen
came
from.
from. Yeah. Yeah.
Every one of them was influenced by
Yeah.
somebody else. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's also, if you take like your favorite people, whether it's, Bill Monroe or Stevie Wonder or Emmylou Harris or whoever it is, they're taking their influences, putting them all together, and then that's me.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
So, what are you going to do? You going to run from it or are
Yeah.
you going to embrace it?
Embrace it. Yeah.
I'm an
You're going to
embracer.
embrace it. That's what you're going to do. You're going to embrace it.
Yeah, I like that. I like that
Yeah.
positive spin on it. Okay,
Yeah.
let's see. Ooh, great question. Because we're getting close to me asking my favorite question. Oh, and Angie also asked, "Will she ever teach in Texas?" And you do.
Yes, I
you
will.
know.
In
Okay,
fact,
so
I have a plan to do that in I'll look up the date and I'll put it on my website. How about that?
okay, so Angie, you're gonna look on here's. I'm gonna put this in both the captions right here, and I'm also gonna put this right here. SusanGibson.com. That's where you're gonna find out
Yeah.
about Susan and workshop stuff and teaching and et cetera, et cetera. Angie, I love this. Here she puts change pitch, line length, give dog treats. Okay to change chords of a song you love. Write with a different rhythm. Open up to another instrument. Good shit. Steal other stuff. Call it influence.
Love it.
Thank you. Embrace it. Oh
That's
man, I love
great,
that.
Angie.
Yeah,
There,
that's
that's your
so awesome.
songwriting workshop. That's all you'd hear from me in a
Yeah,
songwriting
yeah,
workshop
yeah.
anyway.
$100,
Yeah.
it's like there's I just paid $100.
Just
Um,
everybody Venmo Angie $100 if
there
you
you
were
go.
interested in
That's
going to
right.
one of
That's
my
right. Because she
workshops.
just she
She
just
just nailed
nailed
it.
it. She
It
just
would have
nailed
taken
it.
me 2 days to say that, but yeah, that's
Exactly,
the
because
gist
we
of it.
stretch it out a little bit, don't we? I love this question, and I want to get to it before we run out of time. Julia asks, ask her how it is going with her new venture, pretty please. What
Oh,
are
yeah.
we? Okay.
My new venture is in April. I started an 18-month dog training course to be with the goal to be a certified dog trainer so that I can do some work in a shelter um, and maybe foster some dogs and start working
Oh,
with them and get them good and adoptable. And yeah, that's my goal. That's my
here's
goal.
here's here's my rescues right here.
I love
Here's
it. Oh,
Oscar and Alice.
I love it.
Alice is from Gonzales, so she pretty much only speaks Spanish.
Right.
She only siéntate, and then she
Alicia.
listens.
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly. And then Oscar's kind of a corgi terrier mix, so
yeah.
he knows he's the queen's dog.
Yeah, yeah,
He
totally. That's
knows.
royalty. I could tell by looking, that's royalty right there.
He's I'll put that back up later. But yeah, I mean our rescues are I mean Mutts are the best dogs.
They
They're
are the
just so
best.
great. They're
They
so
are.
great. Okay, so tell me a little bit but about this venture like how are you going along with it? So it started in April?
Started in April. It's called Catch is the name of the program, and they're based out of New Jersey, but they have schools all over. The first like
I'm
six
fine with putting a
sessions.
link up. Is it Catch
Yeah,
as an acronym or you want to look
yeah.
it
I think
up?
it's
Here,
an
I'll
acronym, but
Google it.
if you search Catch Dog Training, it's there, and they
There it
have
is. I found it.
yeah, they have where like this first probably 6 months of it is all online, and it's
Oh,
all
here it is.
history of training, and then um, you know uh,
Boom.
body language. There it is, right there, and body language and how dogs interact and how to read their body language and how to present yourself to be non-threatening, especially when you're working with fear dogs and fearful dogs and so then I'll do that. We go to Montana this Sunday, and I'll be gone until the end of September. And I'll get to do all that online stuff. And then when I get back, I think the plan is I get with a trainer and I got to shadow a trainer for
Wow.
a certain number of hours. And then I have to have a certain number of hours of working in a shelter or some situation, maybe a PetSmart or something where
Yeah,
I'm,
yeah, who
working
knows?
with dogs. And then, and then I can go test out to be certified, and so then
Nice.
I could have that as a side hustle, or I could just my real goal for it is just to be a resource for I've got a place, I've got 4 acres, I've got it's
Yeah.
and I've got the space and the desire to have more dogs that are maybe not mine forever, which that's how I ended up with 5 was I thought I was going to foster dogs and
They
I
ended up yours.
one by one, yeah, I was foster failure all the way. Um, so
I
yeah, and
love
I'm
it.
excited about it, and I love I've always been interested in it. This is something that I've dreamed of doing for a long time, and whereas music was not ever my dream to do for a long time. It's just something that I was like, oh, I love it. I'm kind of good at it. People,
You fell
invite me
in.
to go do something with it, but the dog training stuff is, I mean, since I was a kid, I've had this this interest for dogs. I got bit in the face by every dog in our neighborhood because I'd walk right up to them face to face and try to hug them.
You're like,
And
you're my
just
friend. And they'd be
pro
like, I'm
tip,
not
that's
really.
not how dogs greet each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm learning all that stuff. So it's been really good.
Oh, I love that. And yeah, it's, well, you're preaching to the choir a little bit
Yeah, for
here.
sure. I'm looking at the chat and I'm like, yeah, man, these
Yeah.
are my people.
Yeah, there's no question about it. Okay, so as we're about to leave on the television, we'll stay online for just a couple of minutes to make sure we finish everything. But I got to ask my favorite question, my only question of every show. Before we go off, Austin Music TV, thank you so very, very much. We'll probably
Mhm.
go off while we're still talking, so I'll just do
Yeah.
this now. Thanks, everybody, for the tips and for us to be able to survive and to keep the show going, and maybe so that I can get a little, what do you call it? Like a meal or some dog treats. You know, we like to say salmon cookies aren't free.
Yeah, that's right.
But I'm always really grateful for everybody helping me keep this show going and taking care of my guests. So thank you for the tips.
Thank you.
SusanGibson.com is where you find out as much as you need to about all the things. It's a good hub for you to find everything Susan. And my question is this: I love to know what people's guilty pleasure music is. And so what I
Mhm.
mean by that is like what people don't expect that you listen to. Now you answered just a little bit already with
Yeah.
the before you started songwriting, you kind of liked the mod kind of deep dark, and you also answered a little bit that from your childhood you were into things like Asia and Casey
Uh-huh.
and the Sunshine Band. I mean, basically this started because I gave up the fact that I'm a Fanalo.
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
when I was a kid, my mother would sneak in the records that she would play classical music, Stevie Wonder, Jackson Brown, all these incredible music. But she also liked Barry Manilow, and so
Yeah,
I hear
yeah.
"Can't Smile Without You," and I
Oh
just like
God.
I get a warm fuzzy feeling that most people just are like and I'm like no 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 no
Yeah.
no. Copacabana, with
Yeah.
the dress cut down to there, I'm
Yeah.
dancing. I'm
Oh,
dancing.
for sure. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
people come on and they'll be like telling me about what they do, and then they'll say, "I love the Spice Girls,"
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'll be like, "All right, really?
Yeah. See,
Why?"
yeah.
So, what's a good
Well,
guilty pleasure music
I
for
feel
you?
like I would have had a good answer for this until I started hanging out with Jana Pokop. And
Oh yeah,
Jana Pokop taught
she
me,
listens to so much cool music.
she does, and she taught me to love what you love. Love what
Not
you love,
guilty. No
right?
guilt.
No guilt. Um, so I know with like I don't feel bad about any of this stuff. But
Good.
I love here's my guilty pleasure, y'all, is I don't listen to that much music. I listen to audiobooks and
Ah,
podcasts all the time.
okay. There
And
you go.
I do the what makes me feel
Me
guilty
too.
about that is because I directly tie that the fact that I'm not putting music in my brain is directly tied to the lack of writing that I'm doing. Right? I berate myself for not writing as much as I should. And I know if I listen to more music, I would. And so there's maybe some fear there that I should look at.
No, that's
Um,
fascinating because I'm going to break in for 1 second and say
yeah,
this. If I hang out with musicians too much, I don't
yeah,
write about anything but music. And if
oh
I
yeah,
listen to music only, all I
yeah,
write about is relationships and the road, which is
yeah, yeah,
fine, but
yeah,
that's it.
yeah, yeah,
So when I hang out with my wife's people who are gardeners,
yeah.
who are awesome,
Yes.
life happens.
Yeah,
Life
totally.
happens, and then I start writing, and I'm not just writing about the same old stuff. I'm not
Yeah,
saying I have any songs about gardeners, but I do have songs with a lot of foliage in them,
yeah, for sure.
um,
Yeah,
and
those are
wildlife.
universal truths that you're learning about whenever you peek outside and see what's happening outside,
You
for
gotta have
sure.
something else to write about. So
Yeah,
maybe that's why you need your break so much. And also,
yeah,
it can be almost like a job to listen.
yeah.
You're like,
Well,
wait a second. Go ahead.
yeah, Jeff,
Sorry.
that is I mean, no, you that's totally it. Is I just had this conversation the other day after gig at this little place in New Braunfels called the Redbird Listening Room, which
Mm-hmm.
was a
Mm-hmm.
fantastic little spot. And if you get a
Right
chance,
on.
you'd love it. You'd kill
Right
that
on.
room. But we were talking about that kind of feeling that you get with where and this is what I was talking about. I don't know what he was talking about, but I know that I was talking about it's hard for me to listen to my singer-songwriter genre
Oh yeah.
without inserting myself in there like, oh, I wish I'd have written that, or oh, I could have said that better. I mean, either
Yep.
one. I'm either better or worse then. And we know what that problem is, but I it's not enjoyable. So when Jana